Father Haydar, oh Haydar, wished you were here, oh Father. Father Haydar, oh Haydar, wished you were here, oh Father. Father Haydar, oh Haydar, wished you were here, oh Father. I don't know how I could speak. My tear is burning my cheek. I don't know how I could speak.
Well, I have grown up my entire life in the United States, in Virginia, and I, alhamdulillah, have been raised Muslim my entire life. My mom, she's a convert, but she has raised us all to be Muslims, and specifically Shia. Well, I've always grown up with the story of the Ahlul Bayt, the different stories of the Imams, of especially Imam Hussein's sacrifice on the day of Ashura in Karbala, and that's always been a strong foundational ideas of his struggle that have been presented to me by my mother, by our mosque, by our different imams, different speakers, and just the idea of this ultimate struggle against evil in the way of God. And that has always, to me, been a very big source to draw on in times of difficulty, that this idea that whatever I feel is nothing compared to what he felt, and whatever I give is nothing compared to what he gave, but it still gives me something to draw courage and strength from. So definitely for me, his story, his message, Imam Hussein's message, is something that gives me strength in my daily life. And for me, the biggest people are definitely the daughters and the wives, and especially Bibi Zainab, and just how alone she was, but yet she stood firm. And that here in America is something that I use a lot. I am, in my school, the only hijabi. I'm the only Muslim girl in my high school, and I am definitely a representative, and I've always been, and I probably always will be. So I have to remind myself constantly that I am this role model for them. I'm showing them what this religion means. So what's the best way I can show them that? And you remember their struggles and their sacrifices, and you remember that they stood alone as well. So there's no reason that you should be afraid and feel lonely when you're the only one, because you have such a rich heritage to draw from. For me, I've always grown up with them in my lives. I've always had a very close attachment to them, and they've always been real living beings to me. They've never been something that, oh, that happened 14,000 years ago, 1,400 years ago. It's not, they've never been buried away under cover and unavailable to me. My parents have always made them available. Their teachings, we sit down and we listen to lectures together. We understand what they stood for, what they strove for. So in my heart, these imams are very much alive, and I've never felt disconnected from them.
والشجر
يسجدان
يسجدان
والسماء رفعها ووضع الميزان والسماء
والسماء.
That's 4 counts. 1, 2, 3, 4. والسماء. Good. رفعها.
My mom is a really good teacher, and I really like to learn all the things that she teaches me. It's fun when we learn Arabic and about the imams, and because she prepares a little lesson for us, and she makes it fun, not like if you're just sitting in a boring classroom all day. It's fun, and it's like not boring, but it's lively.
خلق الإنسان.
خلق الإنسان.
Good. علمه البيان.
علمه
البيان.
hmentioned.
I think for me the biggest thing to remember is that all the Imams are connected. They come from one pure source, so there's no difference between them. They're all these people dedicated to bringing us to the purest religion. So when I have the love for Imam Mahdi in my heart, it is also the love of Imam Ali, the love of Imam Hussein, and the love of Imam Hassan and all the Imams. So I think the biggest thing that I'm excited about is going to pay my respects to the grandfather of the one who will bring justice to the earth and will avenge him. And I think for me to find Imam Mahdi when I'm there is not a big thing, because I see him in everything. I see him in the kindness of people. I see him in the beauty of a place. I see him in the peace of my heart. So it's not so much as I don't need physical evidence, because I feel it so strongly in my heart. To see and to touch doesn't mean anything when you can feel. And just to be there and for him to know that I was there is truly the biggest reward and the biggest blessing. To have my name written down, that this is where she went, this is what she did. And that's the biggest thing I'm excited about, is that I can show to my mom, look, I did walk to your grandfather. I remembered his pain in every footstep that inshallah I will take. And I was there on the day that we remember him. The biggest thing that I want is his intercession on the day of judgment. That's the biggest thing I want, and the biggest thing I'll pray for all of their intercession, and for them to come forth for my humble soul on that day when we will be judged. And I think that's the biggest thing that I want, because I can pray and I can ask for forgiveness from Allah for my life, but the biggest thing that I want is for someone to be there for me when I'm in front of Allah, when I'm in front of Allah. So walking towards him, I think, finally, after all these years, is going to be such a great honor and privilege. And I think no amount of pain and hardship that you can ever face will ever amount to what Imam Hussein faced. So to know that you will never be able to give back to him what he gave to you, it gives you a little peace in your heart that at least you're doing something. This is my show of bay'ah to you. This is my allegiance to you. So for me, I'm very excited. I'm very nervous. But I think the honor of going and the love that I feel right now is completely overwhelming everything else, to the point of just being in awe of their holiness and their light.
I'm feeling very nervous just because of where we're going. We're going to our Mawla. It's every Shia's dream to reach him, and we'll be walking towards him, which is something that I've dreamed about for a very long time, and finally we're on our way. And I'm jittery, nervous, but it's exciting to finally be able to achieve this goal that I've set for myself.
On the first day, I couldn't sleep that night at all. I was tossing and turning, and frankly, sleep was just not gonna happen, no matter what I did. And I was up before our alarm. I turned the light on, I started packing our bags. I was like, we gotta go, we gotta hurry up, we gotta go. We're gonna be late. I didn't know what to expect. My mom had told me different things, other people had told me different things, so I wasn't sure what I was gonna feel, how I was gonna handle this journey and where it was gonna take me. And so we left the hotel at a fairly good time, and I was nervous and jittery and ready to go, and we started walking towards the haram, and of course you're getting pushed and smushed, and you're like, okay, I'm starting my journey. I'm focusing on Imam Hussein, and we're leaving Imam Ali behind. We're walking from the father to the son, and you really start to think deeply, like, I'm actually here. I'm next to these people who back home we recite ziyarah to, and who we have lectures on and programs, and they're physically right next to me in this very earth I'm standing on. And that realization really settled me as we began our journey, and I thought, this is amazing. No one can ever tell you how you're gonna feel, because it's an individual experience, but I was so settled by the fact that I'm walking on the land that Imam Ali is buried in, and I'm walking towards the land where his son is buried, and that thought was in my head for a lot of the first few hours of the walk. And we were walking at a steady pace, and I have unfortunately a knee problem from a sports injury, and I was very worried that it was gonna inhibit me in my walking, and it turns out it didn't bother me as much as my feet did. My knee was fine, and I was worried about that, and so we were slightly focused on that, my mother and I, worried that, okay, we need to take it easy. But once we relaxed into a rhythm with the rest of the group, it was easy. It was not something difficult, and you're just thinking of where you're going. I'm in this holy land, Iraq. I've been blessed to be able to go on this journey, and here I am. It's actually happening. So we walked until Salah time, and we stopped, and it was actually really sweet. This girl who was in the mokib, about my age, kept looking at me and like trying to talk to me. And she obviously couldn't speak English, just Arabic. And I was waiting till someone from our group who knew Arabic could come and maybe translate so I could talk to her. And I said salam to her, and I tried to communicate with her. And she asked me in Arabic, where are you from? And I told her I'm from America. And she couldn't believe it. She said, you're from America? You came all the way from America? And I said, yeah, I did. And at that point, actually, one of our aunties came, and she speaks Arabic, and she translated, and I told her my name and my age, and she actually looked kind of similar to me, and it was really a sweet way to start, by making this friend in a way. And she wished me luck on my journey, and she said, take my salam, Sabah Abdullah. And after doing salah and leaving her behind, I felt very, very happy inside, like, wow, this girl was looking out for me. She wants me to be safe on the journey, and she wants me to convey my salams as well as her salams to the imams when we reach them. And it was really sweet. It really touched me, because I was so surprised that she wanted to make a connection. And we continued walking for quite some time, and we figured out that those first signposts weren't actually the ones that we should have been counting. So that was a little bit of a disappointment, but we kept going, and it wasn't that much time before we reached the mokib. And for me, it was a real sense of accomplishment. It was like, wow, I got to the mokib. I got to the mokib, and it's still light outside, and I'm not in pain, subhanAllah.
excited for another day to be among these people who are all headed for the same goal, Imam Hussein. All this love and passion for him and for what he stood for, moving as a group towards him. It's the first time that I've ever felt that I'm truly part of this Shia community, that we are this strong community who loves our Imam so much that we'll walk towards them in a place that is not safe, and that we would give everything for him and just move towards him with the utmost love and respect in our hearts.
Day 2 was a long day, but we ended up pairing up with 2 of our friends from back home from the United States, and we walked with them the entire day, and it was a really wonderful bond that we kind of made with them, because we didn't lose each other at all through the whole day, and we kept in this little group. And it was really nice to walk with someone else, because for the first day I'd walked with my mother, and of course that was wonderful, but when you have like another person who you don't know and you're creating this completely different bond of just ziyarah, this bond of we're just here for ziyarah and we've become like sisters, it was really beautiful to be with them, and we found strength in each other, and we had this wonderful pace going through the whole day, and we were able to reach the mokib in a good time. But that was a long day, and that was when the aches and pains did start to kick in. But of course you look around and you look at the people walking beside you, and you think to yourself, I have nothing to complain about. There was one man, I was almost in tears. He had no legs, and he was on this sort of contraption that I guess he had built of a wheelchair, and he was wheeling himself forward. And I was just thinking, I'm complaining about my knee, I'm worried about how I feel, and this man has made himself like a contraption to get himself towards Abu Abdullah, and still he's going, and how tired he must be. And that just shuts you up and puts wonderful perspective into where you're going, what you're doing, and the people around you are a good source of reminders as to what is pain and what is difficulty. Day 3, unfortunately, I didn't rest as well the night before, so getting up I wasn't feeling that great, and I said, it's okay, we're almost there. We're almost to Karbala, I'll see my Mawla, everything will be alright. And as the day wore on, I started to feel more and more sick, like actually chills and shakes and fever, and I thought, this isn't something that's a little Tylenol will fix or something. And I tried not to tell anybody too much because I didn't want them to baby me and say, oh, we have to take you, you have to go sit down, you can't walk. But by the time we reached the mokib in the afternoon, where as a whole group we were taking a break, I was very, very ill, and I was very sick, and it was hard to even stand to go into the mokib. And I immediately laid down and just fell asleep. And people were worried about me and giving me medicine and taking care of me. And I've never ever been in a situation where everyone around me is genuinely worried about how I am, my health, my needs. So that's also something so beautiful about this trip, is that here everyone's invested in everyone. This is a trip of complete and utter unity. There's nothing that makes us an individual. We are one. And we really, to function and survive on this trip, you have to become part of this group. And when they took care of me, I started to feel better, and I was able to sit up. And there was also a girl who had the same sort of sickness, which was, it was a pure exhaustion, I think. And they offered, why don't you take a bus to the signpost where the whole group would stop as we made our way into Karbala. And we did that, and we waited for them, and we joined the group eventually towards the evening. Well, when we got to Karbala, I was sick for about 4 or 5 days. I couldn't leave the room. And of course I missed out going a lot of times to the haram and everything. And the night of the julus, my mother had advised me to rest. And, you know, as a child, you're contrary to your parents and you don't want to listen to what they say. So I said, no, I want to go. I want to go on the julus. I don't want to miss it. We're not going to be able to have that experience again. So she said, okay, put on a coat, make sure you have enough layers, let's go. And we started out in front of the hotel at 10:30. I thought, oh, this is not going to be bad, you know. They said we'll move along quickly, we'll be in and out within a few hours. And we walked, and we walked, and we waited, and we walked, and we waited, and we waited, and we waited a lot. But I never once felt tired or discouraged, and I was so excited because that was my first time that I was going to be seeing the imams, seeing the imam and seeing the domes and just the splendor of Karbala at night. And when they announced our group and said welcome, welcome, and just screaming Labbaika ya Hussein, and just thinking, I would die for you, you know. I have so much respect and love in my heart for these personalities that I would give everything for you. And it's just letting all of that feeling come out into the words that you say. It's just the most amazing feeling. And entering through the gate into the shrine of Imam Hussein and just seeing the splendor of his shrine was just amazing. The vastness of the room, the height of the ceilings, the glass and the mirror, the sparkle, everything just overwhelms you, and you look at it and you think, this is truly heaven. This is a piece of heaven on earth. And coming from outside, which is dirty and dusty and run down, into this beautiful shrine is just this odd transition between reality and just this piece of the next world that inshallah we'll be going to. And it was amazing walking through, and just all the people there crying as you walk through and thinking they're crying because they see us and we're crying because we see them. It was just amazing. He stood for us. He stood for the people of his time. He stood for his grandfather. He stood for his father, his brother, and he stood for all the people in the future who would be oppressed. He's this eternal beacon of hope and justice in this cruel world. And he left everything and put everything before Allah. And that's something we don't do. We don't give our full self over to Allah. We don't completely submit. And being here and being next to him and remembering that to be a true Muslim, you have to completely submit. You have to completely let go of everything that you feel you need, you want. To be a person, you have to completely forget about these things, and you have to completely let go and understand that these people died for you and for your religion, and so that you may be free. And I guess to me that it means that I'm gonna cry. there's always someone who has it worse than you. There's always someone who's in a difficult situation. And really this idea that I need to suck it up and move on, you know, who's like, cut your losses. Nothing is as a big a deal as it really seems. And just seeing the hardship of these people and then remembering the story of Karbala and just thinking that I have it so easy and I claim to love these people, you know, and it's just, it reminds you constantly that to be thankful, just to be utterly thankful for everything that you've been given. And being so near to them and so close to them, you can't help but constantly be sending thanks to Allah for being here. And I think, yeah, the biggest thing for me is being thankful and remembering that this is truly an opportunity of a lifetime.
How can I say